Hello there, outliers. Niiamah is Sean here, and thank you so much for letting us be a part of your journey. We have a incredible roundtable of trailblazers who are not just taking their own path forward, but find ways to bring others along for the journey as well. They've all stepped into leadership, and I'm just really grateful for each of them for being here, to sharing their experience, and for us to all walk the edge to really go and see like what is it like to create when in the space that other people haven't done it before. So I'd love for you to get to know them. Why don't we go ahead and we'll do this? Rotem, we'll start with you. Would you mind letting us know more about you and the game you're currently playing?
Yeah, so my name is Rotem Brayer. I am an EMDR therapist and educator. And the game I'm playing is really to take complex ideas and simplify them for therapists, specifically for EMDR therapists, to take what seems to be overwhelming for some people and just make it more accessible.
Glad that you're here. We're gonna play with that in a bit. Ashley, we'll come to you.
Ashleigh DuBois. The game that I'm playing is joy. I think we need to put some better words to grief. And oftentimes when I talk about grief, people don't think I'm going to talk about joy. But the first book that I ever wrote was called Yes, But I Still Have Joy. And I wrote it in the real time of grief. And so I think the more we understand how grief shapes our life as we continue to move through this thing called life, the better we will be equipped as people to love on our neighbors.
Ooh, Ashley, I love that. Like you're getting me to already start thinking in a more expansive way. So thank you very much for that. Alan, let's come to you.
Yeah, my name is Alain Dumonceaux. I'm the founder of the Band of Brothers group mentoring program, and I'm on a mission to help men be clear on their mission as husbands, fathers, and leaders. And the game that we play is to do just that, is to teach us how to be clear in all aspects of our life. And so I'm really looking forward to our conversation today.
Same here. I'm glad that you're here. Christine, let us get to know you in the game you're playing.
Yeah, hi, Christine Ennis. And the game I'm playing is actually the game of life and actually helps celebrate people. I truly believe that everyone's stories needs to be celebrated. And I really want to help these change makers, these incredible epic human beings actually being seen and heard for their story.
Glad that you're here, Christine. And then Brittany, let's get to know you in the game you're playing.
Hi everyone, Brittni Cosgrove here. The game I'm playing is about rewriting the rules of life. Everyone gets to live life on their terms. You get to rewrite the rules, and I'm here to help people bring that in.
I love this here. The outliers, as you can see, we're going to be really playing quite have a lot of fun here in this conversation. The first question I'm going to ask here, these are kind of questions that the commitment I made was I'm going to ask questions that are going to really like that are on my mind, on my heart. The first thing that comes right now is Ashley, you brought in this really great like juxtaposition. You talked about grief and joy, right? And I am really curious for you all here. Like that's pretty counterintuitive. People wouldn't like really think about those things being there. I think that there's like something that each of us have that's like a counterintuitive belief or a counterintuitive way that we approach things. That I would love to like just like start us off with just like showcasing some of the things that you do that most people like. Oh, I wouldn't even think that was possible, or like to even think of it that way. So I'll toss us into the space here. Would y'all mind starting off here with what's something that you do that provides a counterintuitive result, and we'll take it off from there. And feel free after we share if you want to build off of each other. Like I'm down for it. All right. Anyone want to get us started on that?
I'll start because it was mine. I had a girlfriend say one of the things that she wants most in her partner is for him to dance with her at a funeral. And it is not something that people would ever think of. But when I think about how many of us are going to live this life, and you're going to lose people along the way, but do you have the people around you that will hold your hand and dance with you at the funeral, who will remember those wonderful times, who will play the song that everyone thinks, oh my goodness, I can't believe that they were playing that, but it was your favorite song and this person really knows you, and they feel like, hey, the only way to send them out is to make sure that they do like they had this song playing. That is the the mindset I want to help people get into, right? Grief sucks. If you've ever had to go through it, like it sucks and you're going to go through it. So just keep on living. But you want someone that cracks the joke, someone that says like, yeah, this sucks, but like, we're going to get through it. I'm going to hold your hand. We're going to dance because there is another day coming. And so my belief is that grief and joy, they're like best friends. They're holding hand. And I always tell people grief is just love with nowhere to go. So we're going to give it somewhere to go and we're going to turn it into joy.
Awesome.
I love that.
Yeah, this is really cool. So what we're gonna do here is like I'm not gonna like call on people here. Like you just come on in here. We'll make it like nice and organic. Thank you for getting us started on this, Ashleigh. Anyone else want to come in and make sure you repeat your name so we can get a chance to associate.
Yeah, I'll go. Ashleigh, thank you. That is just so beautiful. It's Christina's here. And I think one of the things that I really want to bring to light is that everyone has a story. And I think a lot of people think that it has to be like a doom and gloom or like a really sad story. But we actually all have these aha moments. And a lot of them can happen like just in the shower or when you're driving. It could be when you're playing with your kids. And I think like we need to actually start sharing those stories, start sharing those moments. And we need to go back. Like that's literally what we used to do is we used to sit in a circle and we used to share stories. And I think we actually need to start bringing that to light because everyone's got this wealth of wisdom and we need to start sharing it because you never know how your story is actually going to impact somebody else and what that ripple effect can actually do to you, your family, to your community, and also to the world.
Yeah, I love that, Christine. That's awesome. Alan here, for me, one of the things that we spend a lot of time in doing our men's work is really helping men get clear and in alignment. And so one of the things that, we don't realize or recognize, because a lot of stuff that happens just by rote, right? We get up, we have the same routine. And so one of the things I ask the guys to do is to complete this sentence at the end of the start of their day. I'm the kind of man who. And whatever you say, put in after that is an indication for you to be a little bit more intentional with the day instead of having the reflection at the end and then wondering, man, I think I missed a couple of things that I could have been more intentional with. And so when we start to do that, what really becomes amazing is listening to the stories of how relationships start to change for themselves, especially with themselves, but also with their loved ones and people that they're close with, because we tend to be in a society where we're just doers. And it's really hard, especially for men, for us to just be present and to be available. And that just asks us just to slow down just a little bit. And if we can do that, then I think we can start to make some great changes in our communities.
Yeah, Rotem here. I wanted to thank Ashleigh for this perspective. I think I'm going to start working on my playlist for my funeral. And it's not going to be, sad traditional funeral songs. A lot of my thought processes are affected from or impacted by Buddhism. And I think that's one of the counterintuitive, and it's not my original thought, but I do try to bring it to my patients and the people around me, is that achieving something is not directly correlated with being more happy. And in fact, according to Buddhism, one of the sources, the greatest source of suffering is just craving, just wanting more, always wanting more, and not really appreciating what you have, what you have in front of you. And that's kind of, it's again, it's not an original thought, but I think that the opportunity to bring it up, both for myself and for the people around me and my patients, has been really rewarding.
So, Brittany, I'm going to want to hear from you on this if you have anything to put on. But I also just want to say, for anyone that's just listening, there was a very, very silent but prolonged like head nod that just came up when Rotem was sharing here around the wanting and the craving. And I wanted to make sure that you had that experience as well, because like it was just like deep understanding on that one. Yeah.
This
Brittany,
is
you got
such a
me?
powerful conversation, and I love hearing everyone's different, unique takes on it. And for me, especially what you were just saying with them, it's like we all think what we want is about the thing. And when you really slow it down, it's never ever about the thing. It's always about those internal, the freedom, the spaciousness, the aliveness, the fulfillment, whatever it is inside. And a lot of my work is around the subconscious and working to reprogram it. But most people don't even realize how much wisdom there is. Like Ellen, you had said, the man I want to be today is. That's how we can use the wisdom of the subconscious. Or when you're thinking about something that you want, a goal of yours, but you're not sure like what's keeping you stuck, just asking yourself, one fear I have about reaching this goal is, and then just see what naturally comes up. And the power of the subconscious is that it's what you actually need to hear, not what you think it should be about. It's oftentimes that thing that comes up is not something the conscious mind would grab onto. It's going to be a memory, a conversation, an experience from the past that you would think logically has nothing to do with where you're at. But the mind is just so complex and interwoven. And so, yeah, I just want to leave that. There's so much wisdom in the subconscious to work with there.
Now, Rotem, I'm going to ask you a question, and this is Ashleigh. Do you believe that contentment, like to be content, and satisfaction are the same thing?
Content and satisfaction, that's I think it's a little bit of terminology, right? What would be the difference between content and satisfaction? I don't know. I'm doing the classic therapist thing. I'm throwing the question back to you.
So the reason why I love words, I have a t-shirt and sweatshirt says words mean things. We use them a lot. And to Brittany's point, right, your subconscious will, even I think your first layer of subconscious is probably what you've been told. Right. So it's what your parents taught you, what your family, your schooling, your environment. But when you sit in silence and you really start to think about the words that you use, your words you use in your everyday language, what do they mean to you, right? Digging a little bit deeper. How does that word feel? Am I satisfied, right? Do I feel satisfied with this level of life that I'm living? Or am I do I feel like there's nothing else? And so I'm content. Like, hey, I've accomplished all these things and now I am content. To me, that is very different than being satisfied. Because I can go higher and that may satisfy me, but higher may be my level of content. Or if I never accomplish another thing, Lord, you did good. You know what I mean? Like when you take me out of here, play my playlist. And like, I felt like I had a great life. And so I'm asking because I think the deeper level, the sitting with it really you have to do some unlearning, some peeling back, some deconstructing to really get to the place of which word means the most to me and which one feels the best to me.
I love that. I think that I agree, Ashleigh, 100% that deep level of satisfaction comes from a lot of unlearning. I think that we learn by just being humans, to focus on the negative. It's a human trait. It's not something that I try to explain to people. It's not something that is wrong with you. It just is, it's a survival-based strategy. And if you're not taking this deep contemplation, observation, whatever you want to call it, meditation, psychedelic experiences, deep psychotherapy, getting to know your unconscious, you're not going to get there. If you're just going with the default mode of what your brain is doing, you are doomed to be unsatisfied.
Y'all are fun. I appreciate you all. Like, it puts a smile on my face because like we get a chance to like evolve the questions, and I'm good with y'all continuing to build in the conversation. I'll keep the outliers and trailblazers in mind. All right, so there's two things that came up here. Y'all talked about content just now, and one of the things about content for me is like it makes me think about content and but then I'm also hearing distinctions, right? So actually, what like you say, words matter to me. This is where leadership comes in, your ability to have distinctions in it. Alan, I got you when you're like, look at your day and how do you want it to be? Okay, now that you distinguish, this is what will make it intentional. So I'm curious for you all here, because I do want to talk about it from like the content element. And the distinction I have is content versus thought leadership. Right. And so you all are you're creating things, you see things differently, you have counterintuitive beliefs and counterintuitive ways. I'm curious, like how do you distinguish for yourself, like what is like, all right, I put out some content today versus like, oh, now I'm actually here leading the charge, helping people go to a new thing. Actually moving forward the mission in a way that only I can. And so how do you do that? And how do you like it's really around the thing I want to get to is really around courage, fear, and like to actually say what no one else is saying. Like that to me is like that's the real space there. It's not like, oh, I use like a 2x2 matrix. Like not as interested. But like bring it in. Let's take it off. What do y'all got for this one? Who wants to start us off on this one?
I'm going to go
Christine.
first. It's Christine here. Look, I struggled actually with this because I think I always thought that I was actually such a visionary, like I was ahead of the game, and I think most of us are going to be like that as well. So I asked myself a question, and it's what if? So what if I do it, but what if I don't do it? And I think a lot of people sit in there, and they struggle with, okay, well, what if I do it? And that can actually bring up the fear. It can actually bring up all of the insecurities. But what if you don't do it? Like, what if you don't do it and you don't share your message? What if you don't share that piece of content? What if you don't share your vision, your thoughts with it? You are missing out on the potential of actually tapping into somebody who is sitting out there, sitting where you have been. And most of us have already gone through such a pathway. And what I actually see is that we've walked a pathway that pretty much not a lot of people have. And we're actually starting to leave little bits of light, and we're lighting up that pathway for other people to walk. So I actually feel like we have to see in there, what if I don't? So what if I don't do this? Because then you're missing out on so many opportunities of not sharing. You're missing out on so many opportunities of helping somebody else to light their pathway as well.
That was so well said, Christine. I love everything that you just shared. This is Brittany. And for me, what comes through is being so attuned to your why, your North Star, your bigger vision. Like, what is it that's on your heart that you are here to share? What is that calling? What is your unique vision? What is your mission statement? And then from there, when you're so in tune with why you're doing what you're doing, why it's important to share your message, to share what's on your heart and soul, then that why will carry you through when the fears and doubts are there. It has to outweigh all the fears and doubts, but then it's also going to come through in your messaging, and that energy of that you're connected to will be felt by your audience and the people listening. And that's how I think when it's that content versus thought leader, that conversation, they can be one and the same when you're so aligned and in line with what your unique vision is.
Yeah, Rotem here. I love what you said, Brittany. This alignment, I think, is what a lot of people miss these days. A lot of content creators who are just want to create content and be famous on YouTube or whatever, become have a lot of followers. There's only so much you can do something you're not deeply passionate about. And for me personally, I really spend a lot of time reflecting, what is it I'm going to do that will have the most impact on the world? So I'm thinking about EMDR therapy. By the way, for the listeners, if you haven't tried it and you feel stuck, whatever stuckness is, EMDR therapy is really a transformative kind of therapy. But I reflected on, how am I going to impact the largest amount of people? So I educate therapists. Every therapist has 25 to 30 patients, and they're being impacted. That education I provide has a lot of positive feedback. And as a result, a lot of people that I don't even know are being positively impacted by the content that I create. So I totally agree with this alignment, and it has to be aligned.
Yeah, I love the conversation, the direction that we're going with alignment. That's one of our favorite words here in our work for sure. And my moniker is the purposeful action mentor. And so when it comes down to creating content, it must have a reason to do it. I'm not interested in creating content just for shock therapy or to really to try to get more likes or get a boost or do that, if it doesn't really resonate with the message or the theme that we're working in, or the season that we're developing, then I think it's disingenuous, and people will smell that a mile away. They'll see that it's not. And the other thing I noticed too is between being a content creator and a thought leader is to be mindful of, I'm starting now to pick up, there's a little too much AI help with some of this work. And so be to really, really read and understand or watch and listen to see, is this person truly speaking from their own experience? Or is this something that has been generated from some other means? And unfortunately, that's what happens in the industry. But I think we can, as true thought leaders and as true content creators, we can really dial that in and stay authentic. If you're on mission, on point with what it is that you do, then people will find that, and that will start to come. And maybe the metrics need to change, and it's not so much about the number of likes or the number of shares or whatever it is that we're using to measure ourselves, but from a place of purpose and meaning. And then ultimately, I think if you stay long enough with that, then the rest of those things come along.
I love that so much, Alan. So this is Ashleigh. I have just started to tell people, like, social media is fun when you're being authentic. It stresses people out when you're being fake, because you're performing for someone. And so on my LinkedIn on Fridays, which they would tell you a lot of people don't engage on LinkedIn on Fridays. Now I'm always like, they don't engage with y'all, but they engage with me. I do a post every Friday called Fearless Fridays. And the goal is to fear less by the end of this year. So that was my prayer at the top of 2024. I said somewhere along the way, 10 years ago, I lost myself. And I feel like I started to fear a lot of things, and I put limitations in places limitations should have never been. Now, I have been extremely blessed in the last 10 years, but I know that there's more for me. And the only way that I can do it is if I confront fear head on. And so I'm very vulnerable. I have so many people reach out to me in my messages, and I always tell people I will respond to you. Or they email me, and I have sat down and had a coffee and walking meetings, and we have had tears and we have laughed. And I have told people, like, I am going to show up for you because we all need someone to walk beside us in this thing called life. And the best compliment I've ever gotten by facing fear head on is for people. A young lady walked up to me and said, "You are the same person on the internet that you are in real life." And I told her, that is the best thing that has ever been said to me. But I think this notion of becoming fearless to really be vulnerable and authentic is, if it doesn't almost scare you before you hit post, it's not raw enough. You're like, oh, I hope nobody reads it. And then 1,000 people see it, right? But it's going to resonate with the person that needs it the most. And they're probably going to reach out to you and say, because you posted that thing, because you shared your shameful testimony, I feel like I can heal this part of me, or I'm going to go to therapy, or I'm going to reach out, like I'm going to do something to make myself better. I think that's the best thing that we can do as content creators. And to Brittany's point, I think you can get into that thought leadership. But it takes you some, like, you got to get good at being vulnerable and transparent. And in that, you start to create different narratives around how people think, similar to what Rotem said. Like, you have to start thinking differently and not speaking in the negative, but really focusing on how do you shift the story to the positive.
And if I can just quickly piggyback off of Ashleigh, because I love everything that you said. And also, that is the best compliment in the world. That's amazing. I think that when we focus more on what we're delivering versus make it about the audience and the value you're giving and what you're sharing with the world versus, like, is it about me? How are they going to think about me? How are they going to feel about me? That shift in perspective and that shift in the lens that you make your content through has a huge, it just plays a huge role when you're thinking about what you're giving, the value you're delivering, whether it's through your personal shares or your work or whatever it is. That value is what people will appreciate, and not when you're thinking about how it impacts me, myself, and I.
I wanted to just call out here. So I like seeing the videos here. So also, when you brought up the component of, like, it should almost scare you before you hit post. So, like, I looked at all Alan, I saw Christine, like, just like really in that. They're like, yeah. Do either of you two have anything you want to say on that element of, like, I was hearing, like, aligned and authentic, so much so that like it feels so bold. Alan, I see you.
Yeah, man. Listen, 4 years ago when I started doing this work, I used to do a daily post, and each day would have a different theme that we would stay on. So, Mondays would be marriage, Tuesdays would be leadership, Wednesdays, la, la, la. But the one that I want to get into marriage, we had just come out of a really tough time in our marriage and just about had lost it. And so I needed to be real with people. I needed to be real with what was happening and the journey, and I've always said, and I said to people that, my wife saw the man that I was yet to become. And she gave me the opportunity to do that and be that. That doesn't mean that I had a free pass. It meant I needed to show up and do the work. And even now, as I tell the story, I get goosebumps because, here's something I'm just putting it out. And to let guys know and to let couples know that there is a path forward if you're willing to move. And I can still say when I tell this story or writing those posts that it gives me excitement and fear and trepidation and all of that, but it's so worth when you're hitting send and then you do get the responses back and they go, man, I'm in that boat right now, because I was misaligned. I was focusing on things that were not as important as I thought they were. And so absolutely, I love that, Ashleigh, that you said that, because I think we need to do more of that and be real and be the same person online as we are in person.
All right, so I'm gonna ask a question here. Y'all been forthcoming, authentic, real. I'm gonna ask some questions here that are related to things that I can see outliers and trailblazers thinking of, especially those of us that have businesses, right? And so one of the things that comes to me a lot in the work I do with people is like, well, how do I get more clients, right? More or less, it boils down to that. Like I have this great, unique, awesome thing. I have some, but how do I get more clients, and how do I get them more consistently? And so I'd love to like put some of the conversation into that for us here, mainly from the standpoint of, again, just opening up the horizon on what it is, while also seeing like what are the common points here, because I think that this is a part of the path where people are like, I don't really know, so I'm going to go see what other people are doing, and I think I have to do that, as opposed to being able to get like a snapshot and be like, hey, look at the different ways that people have found work for them, right? And so I want to make sure there's like a way I have to ask this question that doesn't end up becoming like a you should that I like. So I have to watch that. So that's what you see me navigating right here. The goal here for me is um, really to, one, speak into the times when it was difficult, speak into like the shift that happened, like when you figured out what worked for you, and then potentially like share like, hey, look, like this is what most people said I shouldn't do, or this is what most people don't do. And this is what actually works for me, though, and this is I want to have a little bit of that conversation just so we can like free up some space on that. Is anyone feeling like called to get us started on that?
Yeah, I can start. This is Rotem. And maybe I can start by bringing a little example of what not to do. So I recently I work out religiously, and at my gym there was free, training session. Of course, there was a sales pitch, to do some workouts with this trainer. I'm like, all right, I haven't done it in over a decade. Let me do some personal training. And the guy was just average. He was mediocre. He didn't try to really do too much for me. He just did his job. And I think this is a good example of a lot of people just want to just do their job. And I think that we live in a time that people don't want average. You don't want an average therapist. You don't want an average business coach. You don't want to read average books, because life is too short. So whatever you do, get really good at it. And even if it takes a lot of time and effort and energy, get really good at what you do, and people will find you. Because, for me, most of my referrals are from people who've seen me, and I really help them resolve their issues. So they refer their friends and the people they know. That these are my 2 cents.
I love this. And I'm going to jump on the back of that. My first thought that went through my head was, are we telling the people around us what we're doing so that they can support us. I know I'm often guilty of keeping things to myself. One, because you feel like if I'm out accomplishing people, to Rotem's point, right? If doing things for you that you are naturally good at, it's someone else's exceptional, but it's your ordinary. When you do those on a consistent basis, some people are like, I'm a little upset, right? This is me pouting. For those who are not watching, this is me pouting. But then we have to make sure that we are continuously talking about the things that we want people to engage in. So I tell my family, everything's not important. The things that is important, I'm going to put on your calendar and I need you to be there. And they're like, got it. Like, this is because there are so many things happening. But to that point, being authentic, being real, as Alan said, and immediately what came to my head was reflect, engage, align, and learn or lead. Sometimes I have to sit back and be quiet. I need to learn. Sometimes I need to be bold and I'm going to stand on that thing and I'm going to lead 100%. And I'm going to do it after doing a deep level of reflection, after I've engaged with the people that have been with me on this journey or the people that have just gotten here and they're like, hey, I see you and I want to support you. I want to make sure that I am aligned, to Brittany's point earlier. Like, I have to make sure I am so tapped in, I know where I'm going. And then I either need to be learning in a season or leading in a season, and I'm going to be bold about it. And so for me, it has been telling people, hey, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. I'm speaking at this thing. I've had people help me sell my books. I didn't even want to tell people about the second book. My friends made me do the launch for the second book because it was like, oh yeah, by the way, I wrote 2 books in 1 year. And people are like, what? Why didn't you say anything? And so sometimes we get shy because we feel like I'm out accomplishing people. But that is the point. You are going to out accomplish people, and those who want to be there to support you. To Christine's point, and even her business as a whole, you tell that story and you tell it with your whole chest because somebody is watching you going, I want to do something similar, even if I don't do the same thing. And I think that is a beautiful compliment, whether they ever tell it to you or not.
My heart sings with that, Ashley, just so you know, because there's a major reason. One, it's hidden me, but I think it's the I'm grateful for you right now because I think you're seeing the outliers and trailblazers here, right? Like, both, like Rotem said, like, people don't want average. I'm like tearing up here, right? And then and what's happening here is and the goosebumps are coming. It's just like we're setting this floor of like, yes, you are exceptional. Like, that's what this whole thing is like, yes, you are exceptional. And it, like, we have in our community, we call it, it's just a Tuesday, right? Other people are like, wow, you did this. And it's like, oh, what? Oh yeah, it's just a Tuesday. Like it's just one of those things that I do, right? And part of why I asked you all here was to speak to what happens when you're in that space. When you're in this space of like, like outshining, out accomplishing, like, how do you continue to be open? And not like doing it, like not feel like you're going to lose everyone, or if you are going to lose everyone, how do you continue to make that happen, right? So I just really wanted to say like y'all are speaking to the core of what's in this space here, which is when you've chosen not to be average, or when you're thrusted into like you figure out that like, I'm just not average, I'm an outlier. Like, how do I now go and keep moving forward? So really wanted to say like it's hitting me deeply. Anyone want to like add on to anything that's been coming up in the conversation right now? Christine, I see you.
I would love to. It's Christine here. So I think there's actually 2 points that I would love to share. So honestly, I think a lot of the times is that if we are not doing what we're expecting our clients to do, so what we're asking them to do, how are our clients actually going to want to work with us? Because I think so many people, like, coaches and all that, they're going, oh, well, we're wanting our clients to invest in like 5 grand, 10K, packages, but we're not even prepared to spend that on ourselves. So I think we need to also go back and actually ask, what are we not doing that we're going to be asking our clients to do? Because we have to live and breathe our own ethos. We have to live and breathe everything that we're preaching. So practice what you preach. And I'm the marketing person. So the question I would ask you is that, are you marketing your business like Blockbuster, or you're marketing it like Netflix? And I think sometimes we need to make sure that we are being the Netflix in our own industry, that we are thinking ahead of the game. And that is scary because sometimes there is actually no pathway that you have gone down and you're like going, I don't even know if this makes sense. I have no idea what I'm doing, but it just feels right. It just feels like this is what my audience needs. And if you can be really in touch with who your clients are, then basically whatever you do is going to be attracting to them. So that's literally what I would love to say to everybody.
So beautifully said. This is Brittany, and I want to add on that at the end of the day, and I've kind of pounded it against this throughout this conversation, is you get to do what feels good to you. So if it's online marketing, if it's offline marketing, like find the strategy that feels in that alignment, that feels like something you want to show up for. But then also there's this game that you cannot wait for the motivation to strike. You have to still be willing to show up and do the things and take the actions even when we don't feel like it. And then it's your responsibility as the entrepreneur, as the business owner, or as whatever it is, the change maker that you are. It's your responsibility to show up for yourself, to clear the things that feel like they might be taking you out of the game. So when you are outperforming, when you're achieving more than those in your community, when you feel yourself standing out, those fears and those doubts, work those fears and doubts so that they're not holding you back, that they're just part of the journey. I feel like as business owners, we all have to show up for things that are not the fun highlight reel part of it, and it still makes it worth it. But it's that willingness and just normalizing that it is different. It is a different life, and that's okay. It's incredible, and it's worth it.
Just love the direction that we're going with this conversation. I just was making notes, copious notes here, listening to everybody, and the few things that I had down, I think about from a marketing perspective, and I had to learn this really the hard way, is I had to fish where they are. And so that took a while to figure out, and where do my clients reside. And so for me, that meant looking at more joint venture versus whether that's an online or an offline aspect of it, but still had to fish where they are. Where do these potential clients exist? And then someone, I think it was you, Christine, talked about, really about living with integrity. And that's the theme that we're using this year. And I had that same conversation with myself back in November, and because at the end of every year we do a realignment. And I asked myself, am I truly living with integrity? Like, am I leading these men and myself that I can be proud of? And in one aspect of my life, I wasn't, and that was with my physical health. So to your Rotem, I hired a fitness coach to help me get on track. I'm back into getting the best shape of my life. I'm 59. I'm like, this is awesome. I should have did this 35 years ago, but whatever, we're here. But the point being is that you have to decide what kind of person you want to be. Are you a full-time person, a part-time, or an all the time? And when you're an all the time person, that means you're on it. You're thinking about it. It doesn't mean that you're forgetting about your other commitments, but what it does mean is that you're focused, you have a destination and you just want to go after it. And the last point I wanted to make was always be mindful about who and what we're comparing ourselves to. There's a book out there called Choose Your Enemies Wisely, and it's not as that initial title makes it sound. And it really helped me to understand what I'm doing when I'm comparing, and how I could do a better job of being focused and understanding what puts me on mission, what takes me off mission. And so I think there's so many different ways, great wisdom that we've shared here today. And I think if you just got one nugget, you'll do gangbusters in your endeavor.
I'm really grateful for all of you here. Like really, your smile right now is how I feel right now. It's really good. It's really good. And Alan, you just said something. We're going to wrap up the conversation. You just said something that I think really kind of gets to another piece of what is being created here, which is you said wisdom, right? And I think that that's why I look at share your experience, come from that place, because that's where wisdom comes from. Information is something else. Like I often say, I'm like, hey, look, if it's Googleable, or I guess nowadays, like if ChatGPT is gonna say it, please don't say it. Like we good. And I heard different things in here where it's like authentic, align, bold, in integrity, and there's this other areas of like come from experience. Where attempts like don't be average. Like we don't want that. Like we get enough. And so I'm seeing all these things coming into play, and I really want to just say this group in particular, I feel like you lived it, and I want to just say thank you very much for that. It really it means a lot. Outliers, I have a request of you. And this podcast grows by word of mouth. Right. And so if you can take some time right now, this was a fire conversation. And there may be one person in your world right now who needs to hear it. Feel free to go share it out on social media and be like, hey, look, I listened to this great conversation. That'd be wonderful. Like, I'm not gonna like, please go ahead and do that. But I think that there's something even more important that comes out there, which is like really to see this as like a real gift of a conversation to someone. For someone that, like, they're sitting there thinking that they need to be looking at other people, either comparing or putting themselves right into the average. And this is the episode that they need to hear. This is the message, the conversation that they can be a part of. So my ask is that you think of that person with your heart and send it to them with love, saying, I thought of you. This episode was for you. Can you please listen to it? And then let's talk. I like, there's something in my mind. It's just like, I'm getting goosebumps. I'm like, if we just, it could be that simple. One person, one conversation at a time. And that will be enough. That would be enough. All right. So thank you for joining us in here. It means the world to me. So we're going to wrap up our conversation, y'all, in this way. I want to make sure outliers have a way and trailblazers have a way to continue down the journey with you. And I also like to share, and we'll do this in a fairly brief way, but I'd like to share an insight that you are leaving this conversation with. This is for this. I want to make sure I get this. Outsights are for outliers. They've already gotten your outsights. They've gotten your wisdom. You know, this here is you sharing about your own experience and maybe even sharing an impact that someone in this conversation had on you. That's how I like to wrap these things up. So share your best contact. We're all on multiple platforms. Just share your best contact and then an insight you got from this conversation. It will be done for today. Why don't we start with you, Brittany?
Excellent. So you can find me on Instagram at Brittni.Cosgrove or on my website, BrittniCosgrove.com. Brittany is spelled a little differently, Brittni. Yeah, come say hi. And oh, okay, sorry, insights. Had a little mind blip there. Okay, for me, something that really stood out, Ashleigh, was when you were talking about how important it is to let the people in our lives know how to support. Because you are my mirror. I like to hide what I'm working on, the creative projects, all of that. So asking for that support and being intentional with the things that we bring support in on. And then in general, just I have not been part of a roundtable like this for a hot minute. And I love hearing what everyone else brings to the table and the conversations and thoughts that people that are creating waves are thinking and saying and doing. So surround yourself with the people that inspire you to step up to that next level in the same way that we're doing here. This has just been really incredible.
I appreciate you, Brittany. Thank you so much. Christine, let's come to you.
Oh, thank you so much. This has just been absolutely amazing. So you can come and find me over at the Corporate Escaper. So we're on pretty much every single platform with it. Look, I'm actually going to go off similar to what Brittany said, because I think a lot of us, as we are thought leaders, we are sort of leading a pathway, we can actually feel a bit lonely. So obviously we need to actually find our tribe ourselves. And I think it's really important for us to be surrounded by like-minded people who are not afraid or actually want to dull our success. Because I think a lot of the times that we, you know, very much what Ashleigh was saying, like we get really scared because we're doing so many different things. So yeah, really surround yourself with like-minded people. And one of the other things that I really got, that it's okay to shine. Like, you really give yourself permission to shine, because like your gifts are amazing. And if somebody else is feeling you less than, then that's when you know you need to leave the room.
Thank you, Christine. I appreciate you. Alan, we'll come to you.
Yeah, the best way to get a hold of me is go to the website, theawakenedman.net. And actually, if you go there today, I have a free download. It's called Setting the Compass. It's an opportunity for you to really write your headline for this last 12 months and then do the same exercise for the upcoming 12 months. So it'll give you a flavor for the kind of work we do here. And I really go back to Rotem. You talked about this idea of comparing. And I think it's really important that we recognize where we are in our journey, and that no matter when we start comparing, it's not very often we're going to be at the same level. We're either going to put ourselves above or below. But why is that a measuring stick? And instead, look at where you are today compared to where you were yesterday. And that's my takeaway from here. I thought that was great wisdom everyone provided. So what an outstanding conversation, Niiamah. Thanks for leading this today.
Oh, most definitely. Thanks for being here. Ashleigh, and then we'll wrap up with Rotem.
You can find me on LinkedIn. That would be the best place to find me, is on my LinkedIn. So my name is Ashleigh, Ashleigh. Last name is DuBois, DuBois. I have a bright yellow picture, so you cannot miss me, I promise. I looked good in that yellow, honey. It was good. It's a good time. My website is heyashleigh.com. So hey, ASHLEIGH.com. Please reach out. I would love to engage and speak to anyone. But I'm going to say what you said earlier, and you said we are different-minded, but like-hearted. I think we have to start surrounding ourselves with people who do think differently than us, but have a very similar heart and heart posture to us. Those people are going to encourage you. They're going to love you. They're going to lift you. They're going to hold you accountable, and you need it. And they're going to help you here so that you can face fear head on, because the only way to become fearless is if you look fear dead in her face and tell her you can no longer be here. So that is what I'm taking. Thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you, Ashleigh. Thank you very much. And Rotem, why don't you bring us home?
Yeah, thank you, Niiamah, for bringing us all together, and thank you everyone for sharing your wisdom. I'm gonna stick with Ashleigh's insight about I'm still contemplating what to add to my funeral playlist. I do reflect a lot about the little dent I'm going to leave on this world, and what impact what am I bringing the short time that I have on this planet. But I did not think a lot about what my funeral is going to look like. I'm thinking about the 7 habits of highly effective people, and he does talk about that. So it's a good thing to contemplate and think about.
Well, you've gotten us all just like thinking here. I want to say thank you to all of you here for being here. Outliers, this has been an incredible conversation. I'm looking forward to the next time we talk. And until then, remember to be you on purpose. Journey on.